Hey guys, so today I want to talk about money. This is something that a lot of people get really funny about, but I think it's important to be frank and open and honest, particularly when it comes to living an alternative lifestyle like this one, because people see a certain version of it through social media and YouTube and everything and are very attracted to it. And how in the world are you supposed to know if it's something that you can do if nobody ever talks about how much it actually costs and how people are making it work? This is a subject that I could talk at length on for quite some time, but I'm going to do my best to keep it brief and just be very direct. And if there's a facet of this conversation that you would like to hear further thoughts on, just let me know, because I would be more than happy to talk about it. I'm more than willing to share tips and tricks and our monthly expenses and budgeting and all of that kind of thing. I have no problem doing that. I am not shy or embarrassed or anything like that. But for today's video, I just want to talk about where we get the chunk of our income from and how we have made this work for us up to this point. The cool thing about road life is that it really doesn't matter who you talk to, you will get a different response from every single person. And I think that that goes to show that if you want to do this badly enough, there is absolutely a way to do it. And every single person who has already figured that out and is doing it will tell you the exact same thing. But it's interesting, there's like a divide between the people who are doing it and understand and get it, and the people who want to but think that it's absolutely impossible. And getting people over that hump to the other side is tricky, and I'm not really sure why, but I have noticed over the last few years that money is something that people are talking more openly about, and it makes me really happy to see that, because it shouldn't be a secret. So in our case, our journey to this lifestyle has been anything but linear. And to kind of set things up and so it makes a little bit more sense, I'm going to go back and tell you about some decisions that I made early on, because even though when I made those decisions, this was not at the forefront of my mind or a motivating factor behind making those decisions, I think that my desire for independence and freedom and self-sufficiency have all kind of merged together and given me an opportunity to do something unique. To make a longish story short, when I was 18, I enlisted in the Navy, and I did that for a few different reasons, but the primary reason was that I wanted an education and I was not willing to take on a bunch of student loans to do it. And I did not want to spend decades paying off a whole bunch of money for a piece of paper, no matter how badly I wanted it. And I wanted it badly enough that enlisting in the military seemed like a realistic option. And so I sold my soul to the US government for 6 years, and I was military police up until 2020 when my contract ended and I separated. At that point, Stuart and I were together and we were looking at going to school. We wanted to go in person, and so we were looking at ways to do that without breaking the bank. And we knew that we were going to be using the GI Bill to pay for our tuition and supplement our income. And the GI Bill, in case you don't know, is basically just a stipend that the federal government gives veterans to further themselves after the military, to get a degree or certifications and that kind of thing. The cool thing about it is that not only does it cover your tuition, but it also will pay you a monthly housing stipend that you can use however you deem fit. And I've seen people do some really interesting things with that, but in our case we were going to put it into our housing, and we wanted to do that without breaking the bank and having to like work our fingers to the bone to be able to afford a place. And the simplest way to do that, and it was actually Stuart's idea, not mine, was to get a travel trailer and live in that instead of paying rent on an apartment. Because in the area where we were going to be going to school, an apartment was anywhere from $800 to $1,500 a month, but we could pay for an RV site for between $300 to $400. So even with the loan on the travel trailer, it was going to be cheaper in the long run. And it also kind of gave us an interesting option that we could explore later on. But that really wasn't the big reason why we did it. It was really to save money. Well, then society kind of went to hell, and we were feeling the strain, as a lot of people were, and felt the need to regain some self-sufficiency and independence from a system that we were having a lot of issues with and didn't really agree with, and we felt the need to kind of get away from it all. And that is where the whole off-grid solar self-efficiency thing came into existence. And you can go back on my channel and watch all of those videos, but that's kind of what springboarded us into all of this. And I mention all of that because the GI Bill has been, up to this point, a huge contributing factor to our income. We have used that to support the way that we live. The other thing that we did, because Stuart and I are both veterans, is we filed for disability. And basically that's just the federal government's way of paying you back for the years of wear and tear that you incurred on your body in their service. A lot of people feel a lot of shame around disability. It's a topic that I could cover in and of itself, because a lot of veterans don't want to admit that it's something that they have. They feel embarrassed or ashamed of the fact that they are receiving compensation for wear and tear on their body. And I don't feel that way. I am not embarrassed or ashamed of it. The way I see it, I sold my soul for 6 years, had no say over where I went or really who I was with or what I could do outside of a very limited capacity. And I have no problem with taking the government up on their willingness to take care of me now after the fact, for the service that I rendered them. So that disability has also contributed to our finances. And the cool thing about our situation is that we are both going to school and we are both pulling disability, so we have two similar incomes that we can pull from, and that has helped a lot. In addition to those two factors, there's also the fact that neither of us have any debt. We both made decisions in our younger years before we met that set us up to be pretty free of any entanglements like debt now in our adult life, and I'm very grateful for that. I understand that not everybody can avoid having debt. I understand that everybody's situation is different, but I am very thankful that I made the decisions that I did, that Stuart made the decisions he did, and that we don't have debt, because that can be just a weight around your neck pulling you down. And from having friends who are still paying off student loans and credit card debt and everything else, I'm very thankful that that is not something that we have to contend with. Outside of our disability and our money from school, the other thing that we've done that I think has paid off hugely is that we've lived well below our means. I think that there are a lot of people, especially just in Western civilization in general, where you're told that you need certain things to be happy and that there's a certain standard of living that you should strive for, and that if you're not meeting it, then you're like a have-not. We've avoided that and have accepted a different style of living that has, in the long run, ended up saving us money. We keep a budget, don't buy things that we don't need. We fix things when they break every single chance that we get, and that has helped a lot. I have tried to have a rainy day mentality towards money ever since I got my first job and started earning my own paycheck, and that just means that if I have money, I would rather save as much of it as I realistically can for the potential of a rainy day someday down the road, rather than spending it now on something that in all likelihood I'm probably not even going to have a year from now. Finance and personal independence are like inextricably intertwined, and I would much rather have freedom and not have a whole bunch of stuff than have a whole bunch of stuff and be shackled by it. It's kind of like Tyler Durden from Fight Club said when he says that the things that you own end up owning you, and I don't ever want that to happen. So that's why I'm cool with living a minimalistic lifestyle and not having as many things and not having space for as many things. In my opinion, it just really keeps things simple, and I like that. Life will be changing as we continue to go forward and finish up our degrees. Once we're done with school, we won't have that educational stipend coming in anymore, but I am not really worried about that, because things are constantly changing and evolving, new opportunities are constantly coming in, and you just have to be in a position to take advantage of them. And I think that we have set ourselves up to be in a position where we can, and that's really, really exciting. It's exciting to see what's going to happen going forward and how we're going to continue to make this lifestyle and the life that we are building and ultimately want for ourselves more and more and more. I have talked about it before, but I am not really the kind of person who has like a 5 or a 10 or a 15 or a 20-year plan or anything like that. I think that when you make plans, God laughs at you. And so I do what I need to do to make sure that basic needs are met and that I'm saving a little bit of money every month and that we're taken care of and we have the things that we need and that we're not cutting corners on the things that are important and we're saving money where we can. And then the rest of it I just kind of leave to happenstance and to fate and to however it's going to play out. And that attitude can be nerve-wracking for some people, I understand that, but that is just the lifestyle that I have chosen to embrace and lean into. And considering the fact that I could get hit by a truck tomorrow and die, there's really no point in worrying about any of that future stuff, at least in my opinion. So that is pretty much the abbreviated version of how we fund this lifestyle. I am thankful for all of the experiences that I've had that have allowed me to do this. I am thankful for the decisions that I made, even though they were tough and came with a mixed bag of good and bad, because it's led me to where I am now. And I would never want someone to think that they have to be a trust fund kid, or they have to have a huge savings account, or they have to have some kind of bizarre, crazy job in order to make this work, because that isn't the case. There are many ways to make this work, and if you want it badly enough, you can do it. Like I said at the beginning, this is a subject that I could talk about at length. I will probably return to it at some point in the future because this was pretty brief and I could get into certain aspects of it in a little bit more detail, and I would like to. So if that's something that you would like to see, give this video a thumbs up and subscribe, because that tells me everything that I need to know. And if you have a question or would like to see a video discussing something specifically, leave it in the comments below. I really appreciate the feedback and the support. As always, thank you so much for being here, and I hope I'll see you for the next one. Bye.